Hey everyone, the Pink Mac here, and today I wanted to do a video on what is probably my most asked question when I get messages from viewers on YouTube or people who, know that I kind of have a lot of opinions about Apple products and Macs and things like that. And as you can see from the title of this video, it is basically how to choose a Mac when you're going away for college or to university, or if you need one for school. I'm really specifically talking about, if you have to get one for college, but I guess you could also kind of extrapolate that to if you needed it for like high school or some sort of other school that you're going to. But basically, one of the first things that I actually have like a list. I have it in my pretty notebook. So like the first thing you have to consider when you're going to college is obviously your major. And if you've declared a major going into college, then your school at some point or another, probably like the summer before you start your freshman year, will probably have some sort of orientation or give you information on the things that they need you to bring, like computer-wise. And so, especially with certain majors that are kind of like professional production majors, you will most likely get a list of computers that they want you to have, or like a selection of what they would like you to have from your department. So people who are going to school for like graphic design, to be digital illustrators, music production majors, anyone who's involved with film design or video design, architecture majors, engineers, computer science majors, all of you will most likely get a recommended computer from your department in your college. So that could be that they'll recommend at the highest end, a Mac Pro, which is the professional Mac desktop. And that's really going to be for someone whose major is something really intense with production on the computer. So illustrators, really like maybe like animation, really, or video, film, things like that, would really probably be the only ones where they would ask you to have a Mac Pro. But that's because it's the most expensive computer. It's not necessary for most people to have a Mac Pro. So, you guys may end up being a Mac Pro. But for the most part, they're probably going to recommend you to get a MacBook Pro, most likely in a 15-inch model, especially if you're doing anything art or computer programmers, because you know that screen real estate is really important. So they'll probably want you to have the larger model of the MacBook Pro. Also, the larger model MacBook Pros come with you can get them in the i7 processors. So that's another point that you want to keep in mind, is that if you're in any of those professional production majors, that's what I'm calling them for now for the purpose of this video. I really don't know what else they'd be called, but you are going to want to have an i7 processor in your Mac, whichever one you choose. So that is going to limit you because it's going to be some of the higher end ones. Now, obviously, if you can't afford what I'm talking about, or what the school even suggests, that's like you have your own unique situation, and you probably should talk to your school about it and find out alternatives and things like that. But I'm assuming that you're someone going to college and you have the money to buy the right computer. Remember, Macs are more expensive, but they do tend to last for a long time. So you're picking out a machine that is going to last you for your whole 4 years in college, and then if you go to graduate school, it'll probably last through that. It'll probably bring you into your professional life. Like, in all honesty, I still have my Mac from my sophomore year of college, and like it still works fine. And then I have a new Mac that I bought because I wanted a MacBook Pro. But anyway, that's my personal thing. But you're going to have this for a long time. So the things to remember are that it is an investment. The more you put into it, like obviously the more money you spend, the longer it's going to last before it goes like really obsolete. So you're going to want, if you're in a professional production major, you're going to want that i7 processor, and you're also going to really want to have at least 8 gigabytes of memory. Pretty much the i7s come with the 8 gigabytes, so you're pretty set, but I wouldn't go below 8 gigabytes of memory in the computer because you're doing so much. Your computer's going to be doing so much, it needs all that memory. So what are the other options? So I said MacBook Pro, but another option that may work for some of you, probably more like the graphic designers and illustrators, maybe even computer science engineers, people who really maybe are using a lot of processing power, but maybe not the most. You could, if you want a desktop, you could go with a Mac Mini. Just make sure you're getting the i7 and the 8 gigabytes of memory in it, because the Mac Mini actually will do the same thing, and that'll give you the ability to have a desktop, which means that you can have a larger, you'll be able to have a larger monitor. So it's a little bit better of an option for someone who really is maybe using a lot, is a graphic designer and you want a lot of screen space. Obviously in college you may want your computer to be portable, but that's a decision you have to make. If you want portable, I would go with the 15-inch MacBook Pro or the 13-inch if you really don't want the larger size. But the Mac Mini is a good choice for someone who is going to be using the Mac for its processing and its, basically you're in an art field, you're in a computer science or technology field that you need the Mac, but you don't want the portable model, you want a desktop. So the next category of people that I have who are going to college are people who are just in writing intensive, non-technical fields like business, art history, obviously regular history, math, science, English, or foreign language majors. Basically everybody else who doesn't have like really technical skills that they're learning as their major. So these, what I'm calling them is writing intensive, non-technical fields, but these writing intensive fields, if you still choose to have a Mac, which I think it's a great idea to still have a Mac in many of these fields, specifically if you're going to school for art or art history, you may find that although they give you the choice of a Mac or a PC, you may want to get a Mac if you're art or art history, because you may find that your department will use all Macs. And maybe your school doesn't use all Macs, maybe other departments use PCs and things like that, but your department, an art department, normally will be on all Macs, even if your rest of your school isn't. So you may find that you may want to get the Mac so that you've got the same things that the department has, so that you're kind of just in the loop. I was an art history major. I had a PC my freshman year, but then I got a Mac my sophomore year, and basically to, be congruent with the rest of my department. And I liked it, and, it was easier to share things, and, you had access to the same types of applications and things like that, and it's, it makes it a little easier. And so if you are in one of those fields where you really don't need a Mac for all of its art properties, like designing or all of the processing power for video and even music and things like that, then you have a lot more options. Obviously, you can get any of the higher level Macs, but if you do want to just get something that's reasonable, but still, something that'll give you some solid power and also last you for a while, if you want a MacBook Pro, it would be a good idea to get that if you are someone who is like a gamer or someone who likes to edit photographs or likes to play with a lot of applications. A MacBook Pro would still be a really good option for you, because you may, you will get use out of that sort of extra processing speed and the, the professional grade of the computer. But if you are not someone who really uses a computer a lot, or you just use one for like, checking your email, sending email, writing papers, things like that, you'll probably do better with like a MacBook Air. As long as you don't, if you really won't miss that optical drive. You can always buy an external optical drive, but a MacBook Air is probably your best bet if you really don't need a computer for anything too intense. So, you have the 13-inch or the 15-inch model there. I would say that obviously you want to make sure you're getting at least 4 gigabytes of RAM, of memory, and then if you want to, you can even go as far as up to 8 if the computer allows it. The other option, obviously, other than the MacBook Air or MacBook Pro for someone who really needs a MacBook Pro, is also the iMac. The iMac is obviously a desktop version of a Mac, and if you're someone who would just prefer a desktop, it would be fine for someone who's a gamer or photography editor or something like that, like someone who's, messing with pictures and things like that. But if you also want a desktop, it is reasonable enough for someone who really doesn't, who just uses the internet for maybe browsing and, research and things like that. It's still reasonable. It's obviously up to you if you want a laptop or a desktop computer, because some people know that they need to be more portable. But yeah, so that's like the whole family lineup. So let me just to recap. If you, I'll recap by computer. A Mac Pro, the professional desktop that Apple carries, would really only be purchased by someone whose school suggested it. And these people would probably end up being like video, film editing, maybe music production. That's the kind of people that, or maybe even engineers, I'm not even really sure, but engineers or architecture students, you may be suggested to use a Mac Pro, but your school will tell you to buy it. So that's how you'll know whether or not you need that one. For everyone else who's in one of those production fields, the MacBook Pro 15-inch is the #1 option that you should, be thinking about, with the i7 processor and 8 gigabytes of memory. You could also get a Mac Mini if you want the desktop option, but don't want to spend all the money of a Mac Pro. Mac Pros are very expensive. They're like multiple thousands of dollars. So a Mac Mini is like, what, $500 or $600, and then you have to put on a monitor. And you don't even have to buy the monitor from Apple if you don't want to spend, a lot of money on the Thunderbolt display. You could buy another brand and attach it. So if you want a desktop, the Mac Mini is a good option for these professional production majors. So let's see, the MacBook Pro is also a good choice for someone who is in just a regular like writing intensive major or research intensive major, if you're a gamer or someone who uses a lot of the features of the Mac for maybe editing photography, like photographs, or even making your own videos like YouTube and things like that. A MacBook Pro is still a solid option, or an iMac is a solid option if you want the desktop. Again, you want to make sure that you're getting, at least 4 gigabytes of memory. If you could bump it up to 8, that would be great, because it would just last you longer. And then finally, the MacBook Air is a good choice for anyone who just needs a laptop to write your papers, but you're just a web browser and you're, maybe you shop online, you're just writing your papers on your computer, you're not someone who's playing games and doing a lot on it. So a MacBook Air would certainly suit you absolutely fine. So that's what I have for the actual Mac computers. I did want to make just one comment about iPads. I would not really suggest an iPad as a computer substitute for someone who's going to college. The reason is because you really need to have all those full programs on your computer, like the Microsoft Office suite or whatever other programs that your school is asking you for. And a laptop or desktop is what you're really going to need. Now, if you're someone who has a desktop, like you bought a Mac Pro for your really processing intense major, or you bought an iMac or a Mac Mini, you could supplement your desktop with an iPad, but I would not suggest going out and buying an iPad and using it to write papers and all that jazz. You just don't have all the abilities that someone with a computer could have. And I know there may be some of you out there who are like, well, I use my iPad for school, I'm fine. Well, that's good for you. I don't think that most people it would be good for. So it's great to have an iPad if you want to read your textbooks on it. Problem is with textbooks is that not all of them are going to be, not all of the books are going to be available digitally, but some of them certainly will be, and you can save money buying the digital editions if that's what you want and read them on your iPad or your iPad mini. But for me, I would really suggest that an iPad or an iPad mini is like a supplement to your computer, not really a replacement. And I think, even if you went to an Apple store and you talked to them, I would think that they would suggest the same thing, that it's not really something that you're supposed to be using as a computer, especially when you're in school. If you graduate and you don't need a computer anymore for whatever reason, sure, use an iPad. But school is so unpredictable, you never know what you're going to need to do, or or, you know, what's going to be asked of you, or any, you know, programs that your school may just be like, oh, your class will be like, oh, I need you to download this. So you want to make sure that you have like a full computer. So an iPad is a great device to bring with you to class to maybe take some notes or take pictures or whatnot, but don't buy it as a computer substitute. Okay, so that's all I've got for you guys. I hope this video wasn't too long. It looks like I'm about almost 15 minutes, so I'll just wrap it up. I hope you liked this video. If you have any comments, please leave them below, and please make sure to subscribe. And I'm also going to obviously throw up all the ways you can reach me on the internet, so you can follow me in all the various social networks and things like that. Okay? Until the next video, guys, I hope you have a great day, and see you in the next video. Bye!